Good morning, welcome to another video back with a guy and his projects. Today we are working on my wife's 2008 Dodge Grand Caravan 4.0 liter engine again. Today we're just doing some basic tune-up, basic maintenance, nothing too special, but it is a fairly complicated project or process on this engine specifically. I don't know what that sounded like on the camera, but that was some big equipment's brakes, not a wolf or a ghost. That's what it sounded like over here. So anywho, so this 4.0, they make it fairly involved. You have to remove the entire upper plenum, intake plenum off to get to the spark plugs. It looks intimidating. It sounds intimidating, but it's really not horrible. There's some electrical connections, a couple hoses, and several bolts, and that's really about it. I don't perceive this taking more than a couple of hours of your time, even with hand tools. So we're going to do it. This is a V6 engine, which consequently means 6 cylinders, which means 6 spark plugs. That's not always the case, especially on Dodge. Sometimes you'll get their V8 Hemi and it's got like 16 spark plugs, which I knew nothing about until after I bought 8 spark plugs and went to change them and found out I was missing 8. Anyway, so this one's going to take 6 spark plugs. It's not a complicated process. Involved maybe a little bit, but not overly complicated. And so something to keep in mind with all of my videos, just remember, I'm not a mechanic, I'm not a specialist, I'm not a professional. I just do this on my own, in my own way. If it happens to work out, it happens to work out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That being said, follow me at your own risk, and let's get started.
First things first, this cover has to come out. Grab it on both sides front, pull up, both the sides back, pull up. It's just held in by grommets. There's 2 brackets up front that are going to have to come off. Just pull out the electrical wire loom, and then there's going to be 2 13mm nuts, 1 on each bracket. After that, there's 13mm studs that also have to come out. Back here, this is your throttle body. You have a hose right here behind it and to the right. You have electrical connection to the left. This is your brake booster hose. This is going to come off as well. There's no clamp, just grab and pull, twist while you pull to help break any seal that is there. Once that is off, you can move over to this hose. I honestly have no clue what this hose is for, but it's here, and again, not clamped. Just twist and pull as you twist, and it should pop right off, just like the brake booster hose. Alright, after that you have your EGR tube, which is that very bright silver thing, this guy right here. This is held in by 2 8mm bolts. If you've never replaced this gasket, you may want to purchase one. I also have a video on replacing that. Check out the playlist on this van.
So apparently I hit the record button twice, and we haven't been recording, so just a really quick overview. I know I got some on the GoPro, but I haven't been having the GoPro running either. That one was on purpose. This one was accident. So you're going to pull the cover off, okay? And then we just pulled this hose off. I pulled off the ductwork, pulled off the EGR tube. I know I've got GoPro footage. There's another hose coming from the brake booster here, and then there's a hose coming right by your throttle body here. Your throttle body has one connection. Your AIT sensor has one connection, and whatever the hell this thing is has a connection. And so far that's about it. You have a couple studs in here, 13mm. There's a nut you gotta pull out, and then once you pull out the nut, you can pull out a stud, which is also 13mm, right here and here. That's it. That's all that there is to this. You've got 2, 4, 6, 7 10mm bolts here. The EGR tube is an 8mm. These are 10mm. These are long bolts. You're just going to break them loose, get them, and then once they are to the point where they're loose, you're just going to pull them up and get them to stay there. That's where we are right now. Alright, so should be at this point. Remember, your EGR tube's still kind of in the plenum, so you're going to pull it this way as soon as you can. I think, oh, there it goes. Okay, so you're just going to pull it up, and ideally, out. Yeah, just like that. Alright, so your plenum is now out. So there's a lot of people, they get really worried about, ooh, that's hot. So we were running this before we decided to do this. So there's a lot of people that'll cover this up with some extravagant stuff. They'll put duct tape, they'll put all kinds of random stuff there. that is up to your discretion. If you're confident you're not going to drop anything down there, then don't worry about it. But if you do drop something down there, it's going to be an absolute pain in the ass. So we're going to go ahead and cover it. Nothing extravagant, just some cardboard or something, whatever I can find handy. Actually, I have a black towel that just happens to be laying around here. So that's all I'm doing. Nothing extravagant, nothing too fancy. You're just covering the holes. You do not want to drop anything down those holes. And you don't want dust either. So moving on. Okay, so here's spark plugs. I believe you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in that order. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty dang sure that's number 1, so I would be left to assume this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like that. But like I said, who knows? So these are held in by 10mm bolts in electrical connection. We're going to go ahead and remove the electrical just to make things easy. Get that out of the way. We're going to go ahead and remove the 10mm bolt here. Beep, beep. Okay, and I honestly don't know what size socket these are for the spark plugs. I'm just hoping that I have the right one in my garage. That's your spark plug boot. I'm gonna just set that aside, keep it clean. You don't want to get it dirty. Wow, now those are a long way down there. Let's see if we can get a good visual of that on the GoPro. So I don't know if you can see it. Let's see. Way down in there is your spark plug. Okay, so for some reason, and this is kind of strange, I have a 5/8 spark plug removal socket, and it's also a 1/2" drive. I don't understand why I would have bought a 1/2" drive 5/8 spark plug socket, but I did. So let's see if this works. Fits down the hole, that's promising. Yeah, it feels pretty dang close, so I don't know why I bought a 1/2" one, but we did, so. Okay, so then we're just gonna break it loose. Oh. Just like so. Spin it out by hand. You're just going to spin it until it feels about right. Now because this doesn't have the rubber to hold it inside, we got to get a magnet of some sort. I've used the plumber's claws before, where when you push the button on the handle, it opens the claws, and then I've reached down and grabbed those. That works just fine. I've got a video on that. My first YouTube video ever, I actually used that claw on for spark plugs on the Sentra, so check that out. Alright, so we're going to pull out the spark plug. Set our magnet aside. Yeah, those don't actually look overly horrible. They're not fantastic either, but these are the original NGK spark plugs. So either somebody's replaced them since new with OEM, or these are original. So I've been told Champion is the name brand for Dodge. This is an NGK, says right on there. It doesn't say Mopar anywhere on there, but it's a ZFR 5LP 13G. Is our new one. It's a NGKR, same exact thing, so NGKR, and I bought these from the dealer. And same exact numbers everywhere, so I think I got the exact same spark plug. I did buy them straight from the dealer at the parts counter. Supposedly these are pre-gapped. I don't know that, but we're going to assume they are. Okay guys, for any of you guys that are going to work on your own vehicle going forward, make sure you pick up one of these, whether it's the Haynes or the Chiltons or whatever. They're both very, very helpful. So we're looking here to figure out what our gapping is, and this is saying that our gap for the 3.3 liter, 3.8 liter, and 4.0 liter engines is 0.05 inches for the gap. Now these Platinums you're not supposed to gap because you don't want to wear off that coating, but I'm going to check at least one of them just to make sure that nobody stepped on it, dropped on it, or anything else. So this is also where I find my torque specs. So this is 20 foot-pound torque spec for the spark plugs on the 4.0. It's different on the 3.3, 3.8, and 3.6. So make sure you look. But we're going to do 20 foot-pounds and a gap of 0.050 inches. Assembled in USA from Japanese parts. So to put this back in, because I don't have the rubber insulator on this, I'm going to drop this in. If you live in the Rust Belt or anywhere where this is going to become any kind of a problem, oh yeah, that reminds me, to get out later, you're going to want to use some anti-seize on the threads. Here in Arizona, I've never had a problem with getting a spark plug out on an Arizona maintained vehicle. So we're going to not worry about the anti-seize on the threads is I'm using Permatex tune-up dielectric grease. This is used for a lot of electrical stuff. We're going to go ahead and use it for our spark plugs. Remove heavy grease with a clean cloth. Coat the inside of spark plug boot and ceramic portion of spark plug with a thin layer of dielectric grease. Of course, I will link this in the description below for you. I'm just going to pop the tube top. The tube top. This can be used anywhere where there's electrical current, so we're just going to put it on here. And we're going to go with it. Okay, and then like I said, we're going to grab our magnet and drop this back down. And ideally, we're going to have to thread it, the first couple threads, to pull the magnet out without the spark plug. That's the challenge with the magnetic version. You don't want to drop this down there because you don't want to do any kind of damage to the end plug. Okay, so we got it started by threading it in with the magnet. Now we're going to drop our socket back down in there. Thread it till it's tight. Should be right about there. So now we're going to run our torque specs to 20 foot-pounds. Okay, once it's ready, we're just going to go 20. You do not want to put any sideways pressure on that spark plug down there to keep it as straight as you can. So that's 14, 15. We do not want to over torque them. So now the boot, according to the instructions, it says to coat the boot in your dielectric grease as well. We did quite a good job, but we'll go ahead and put some in here anyway just to make it happy. And we're going to shove this down in there. Boop. So there's no, some spark plugs that'll actually clip into place and you'll feel it. It'll be a positive click. But generally speaking, most of them that I've done don't. Some of them do, not all of them do. So torque specs for this, I don't know, don't really care. Just go till it's tight. You don't want to break it, it's just plastic. So the valve cover is plastic and all of it, everything's plastic here. So just go, so for example, I'm just gonna hold this here. I'm just gonna go one finger, that's plenty, that's good. It ain't going nowhere. Plug it back in. Now we're gonna do this for all 6. So let's go. I've been chasing down a vibration problem, like a rough idle problem. You guys are about to get a kick out of this. I may have just found the problem. I'm trying to fish this out of here. I couldn't get the socket on the spark plug. There we go. Alrighty, here we go. What? It's very potentially possible this is causing a bad connection on that spark plug, which is causing my rough idle. Interesting.
Moving on from there, go ahead and remove your covering from your lower intake, whatever you used, and your upper plenum intake plenum can go on. You're just going to make sure all 7 of those long bolts are stuck up in the up position so you don't bend them on anything. Once you get this semi-situated, I just get a few threads started on every bolt, and then I go up here to the front, put those studs in, because once you tighten down the upper bolts, these will be hard to get to later. Ask me how I know. Also, if you look on the air box, I miss putting a hose together, and I miss it for the duration of the video, so have fun staring at that. I even touch it later and miss it, but whatever. Get all these bolts in. I don't know torque spec, just torque them all evenly. I start from the center and work my way out. Put your electrical back on the brackets up front, your hoses on the rear. And guys, this is really a simple project. Involved, yeah, maybe, but simple at the same time.
Alright guys, that's it for replacing your spark plugs on your 2008, I believe this goes all the way through 2018 4.0 liter engine. This is not a complicated process. Probably took me about an hour and a half total, taking my time with the camera. Hopefully I made a decent video for you. It's not complicated. It's a little bit involved. Don't get scared. It's not horrible. It's just you gotta take some stuff apart. Not a big deal. So I don't have torque specs for the bolts on the upper plenum right now. I just went till they were tight. Just remember, you're screwing into aluminum and plastic. It's not something you want to put a whole bunch of Hercules force into. Just get it tight. Same with the EGR bolts. Same with these studs right here and here. Just get them tight and snug, okay? And you shouldn't have a problem. All of your electrical needs to be plugged in. It's really only 4 connectors for electrical. You have your air intake temperature sensor. You have your dampers assembly. So this plug right here does it opens and closes some dampers, I believe. You have your map sensor and your throttle body sensor. For hoses, it's not that complicated. You've got one hose right here. You've got a hose coming from your brake booster, and then you got this hose, and you have your EGR tube, obviously. That's it. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's really not that bad, okay? So pull them all off, put them back in, and that's it. So if you guys liked what you saw, make sure you leave me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Helps the algorithm. And I hope to see you on the next go round. Remember, we just got a Jeep Grand Cherokee. We're gonna build that thing up. Super excited about it. Bear with me as, you know, gotta wait for funds, but we're working on it. And yeah, we'll see you next time.